What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another very special episode of our very special February miniseries for Black History Month. This is a team up with our friends over at Level 1 Gaming, which technically we're also Level 1 now, but we're not going to get into the specifics right now because you know what? We're going to turn things on their head a little bit this week. And our guest is actually going to be our very lovely, our very own Destinee.
Hey.
What's going on, girl?
Not much. Just, out here spreading information about Black excellence and celebrating
Mm-hmm.
Black History Month with you and everybody else. And, you know, doing
That's
things, big
that's how we
things.
do. That's how you
How
do.
we
That's
do.
how we do. That's
Celebrating.
exactly. And Destiny, so we've been interviewing people from Level 1 and we're going to be continuing to do so, but I really wanted to get an episode with you in because I feel like your voice is very important and the things that you have to contribute are also equally important. So I wanted to sit down with you to get your thoughts and put you in the guest chair and ask you some questions that we've been asking everyone, but I just thought it's important. So let's start with the big one, Destiny. Somehow, some way, if someone doesn't know who you are,
I'm a
tell
pretty
us a
big
little bit
deal.
about yourself, Destiny.
So guys, if you don't know who I am, I help host this podcast with Matt and Darren at Burnout Brighter. I'm also a writer and soon to be content creator at Level 1 Gaming. I work with Justin with the Mix, and we've done a few collaborations with them. I also
Mm-hmm.
have a web comic called Putting in Plan that's based on two gamer girls, kind of like a slice of life thing. Yeah, I'm kind of, my hands are in a little bit of everything recently, and I'm just growing as a person, and I'm so appreciative of all of our listeners and all the people that we've had on the show. Like, it's been absolutely amazeballs. Like, I think we've met so many incredible people since being on here, and this was a collaboration we decided to do with Level 1 Gaming, and we did one last year with Raise the Game and Yuki. And you guys know I'm all about like
Mm-hmm.
inclusiveness and just using our platform to talk about things that people are afraid to talk about or shy away from, whether that be the integrity of the gaming community,
Mm-hmm.
whether that be how we represent people of color, women, LGBTQ plus community within the gaming industry. So
Mm-hmm.
that's me in a nutshell. That's what I'm here. That's what I'm doing.
You know, it's really funny because we talk so much every week about our own feelings and about our own
Right.
stuff. But like when that question is pointedly asked at you, I know how much you love it.
It's so hard.
I know
It's
how
so
much you
hard.
love
I'm
it.
like, what am I gonna say?
Exactly, right? Because it's just like when you just answer a question or like when we're having a conversation, it's so easy just to kind of chime in and give your ones and twos. But like when it's just kind of like, Destiny, who are you? It's kind of like, oh
Who
crap,
are
wait, no,
you as
who
a
am I?
person?
Who am I really? Okay, so
Who
D,
am I? What makes me
we
tick?
you know, it's funny. You mentioned, how many incredible people that we've met, but like I have to start by saying me meeting you was pretty much the beginning of the birth of Burnout, because without you being here and without you being an instrumental part in the beginning of this journey, we never would have gotten here. We never would have gotten as far as we have in as little time as we have. So I just wanted to give you your flowers and say thank you to you
Thank
for being who you are, because
you.
without you none of this would have ever happened. And it's an honor to work alongside you every day, every week, whatever. And I would never have it any other way. So thank you for being
Aw,
who you are. But to
you're
give our listeners
welcome.
just a smaller peek through the window of Destiny, tell us a little bit about how you got into gaming. Just we've talked about this before, but just a bit of a spark notes and what kind of led you into even saying yes to my crazy idea a few years ago.
Right. So like you're right. We did do like an episode, but that was like ages ago. So let's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like revamp it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So what got me into gaming is my dad,
Mm-hmm.
actually. He's kind of a gadget freak, a tech freak. So he just likes having all the new stuff. So if he likes having the new stuff, then his kids have to have the new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents had just gone through like a really rough divorce. And we had just moved from Germany, and this wasn't my first game console, but it was the one that was mine,
Mm-hmm.
and the one that I probably played the most, and the one I'd probably consider to be like my my first real venture into gaming. My dad sent us a box from Germany because he had to go back because it was during like the Gulf War.
Mhm.
Um, and he sent me and my brother each a Game Boy. And so like the brick one, the big gray
The big
brick.
boy.
So I would say that was my first real, like, kind of just being encompassed with the idea of gaming before I even knew what a gamer was, before that
Mhm.
was like really a term. I had Batman and Dr. Mario and the Super Mario Brother game that came with that. And I remember just spending hours playing it during the day because at night you couldn't really see what was going
No,
on the screen because it wasn't
not at all.
backlit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that's kind of like my first real step into gaming as
Mhm.
like a baby gamer. And then from there, we just always played video games. And back then, I think it was more like, so we wouldn't like be all up in my dad's face or all up in the family's face and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We would go every weekend to like a video store or a rental store, and we'd rent video games. And my dad would always be like, "You both each get a game." So we'd each get a game, and we'd play the entire weekend, and then we'd take the game back, and it was kind of like a little ritual, and especially if we had really good grades. So back then, it wasn't so much like you had to buy these games.
Mhm.
Back then, it was more like you would just rent the game and play it, and then you'd have late fees if you wanted to keep the game longer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so we didn't own a lot of games,
Mhm.
but we owned like all the systems, and we would just
Nice.
rent a lot of games because that's what you would do back then.
Ah,
But
I
yeah.
miss those days of, like, walking into, like, a Rogers or a Blockbuster and just, like, I would
Right?
spend, like, half an hour. My parents used to get so miffed because they were like, "Stop wasting time." I'm like, "You take me to HomeSense, and we're there for 75,000,000 years. I'm in this Blockbuster for 30 minutes, and you're giving me crap just because I wanna pick the prettiest looking box art? What is this crap?"
Right?
But I completely
Right?
understand that. So then
Yeah.
you kind of grew up with gaming. It's been with you the whole time. When I approached you about like, let's do Burnout, what were your kind of initial thoughts? And like, did you ever picture yourself in this space the way that you are now?
Absolutely not. I always thought that, well, when you first approached me, like I said, I wasn't sure what you were approaching me about because I was still in the States, and like we had just had that tsunami, and like I was dealing with like work and not being there, and
Yep.
you were like, I have to talk to you about something.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh my God. Like I immediately thought it was gonna be something work related, and I was stressed. And then I came back and we went for like Mexican food because you knew I
Hmm.
love Mexican food. So I was like, man, he's like setting this up. Like some
Hmm.
shit is about to go down. And you were like, I was completely caught off guard when you
Hmm.
asked me about it. And then I was just like, yeah, why not? Like at first I was a little apprehensive because I'm not into games like you and Darren are into games. I'm much more casual. I could pick up a game and drop a game whenever.
Hmm.
Um, but there are times where like I just obsess over a game and have to complete it. For example, Eastward. I
Yeah,
think I
you
finished that in like 3
you
days.
flew through that. Jesus.
Yeah. So and then I was always worried about like being compared because like you guys are like in it to win it. Like you play so many different video games, and I'm more of a like I play a few video games that I really like. But I was willing to try it because I like you and Darren and Senna, and I thought like, well, I have a good time with them regardless, so this will be fun no matter what. And I think that's was my overall thought. Now, as far as did I ever think that this would be kind of like a career path? No. I always thought I would be more behind the scenes,
Hmm.
dealing with like the creation of games more so than um, talking about them and being the face of different events and things like that. So it's nice because I'm still doing something that like I always loved doing when I was a kid.
Hmm.
So that's kind of it's crazy how life plays out for you. You don't know where you're going to be, and
Right.
then here we are celebrating Black History Month on a podcast about mental health, gaming, social justice, and all of those things. And yeah, I never thought in a million years.
Right? It's wild. It's just 'cause, like, how much of that is just, like, kind of right place, right time. Because 'cause I'll
Right?
never forget, like, I remember bringing it up to Darren being like, "We need Destiny," and he's like, "Talk to her." I'm like, "She's not in the country." And then it just kept being like Okay, my flight got delayed. Okay, my flight got canceled. Okay, there's things happening. I'm not there yet. Meanwhile, like I'm handling both of our classes at the same time, just being like,
Yeah.
when is Destiny coming back? Because I want to talk to her about this. It's eating me alive. And then like as we've gotten going and as things have grown and changed, and like again, the beginning of the focus was supposed to be mental health and video games, and as we've grown, as we evolved, we've added social justice to it in a really fundamental and important way. So just like we've changed, I wanted to ask you, where do you want to see the industry go? Where do you want to see things change, especially for Black people and for people of color? Because we've seen some steps forward, but just as often as we do, we see steps back. Where do you want to see things going? What hope do you want? What change do you want to see come?
I want to be at a point where we don't have to have these conversations in this kind of in this way, in this
Hmm.
in because it's strenuous, it's stressful, and I want it to be something that you don't even think about because it's just so natural that you see it in a game, right? Just like you
Hmm.
see like white male protagonists. Nobody talks about it because they're used to seeing it, right?
Like you
I
see
want
that
it to
white
be
guy
that.
in that game. Dang.
Right, like nobody
Yeah.
gets excited for a new white protagonist, and I think that's where I want it to be. Not that we as Black people won't ever be excited to see ourselves represented, but I want it to be so commonplace that it's not something we have to struggle or fight to see. And
Hmm.
that's what I'm hoping for, moving towards the future. And not just for Black people, but for Asian people, for Native Americans. Like, I just want us to get our due respect, like across the board, where
Yep.
it's not something that like we continuously have to defend ourselves about. Like, why can't you guys just be happy for this? Why is there a BET? And I get that there shouldn't have to be a BET. There shouldn't have to be something that's only focused on Black people. The
Hmm.
reason why there is because, again, there is a lack of representation. So I'm just hoping that moving forward that there's so much representation that it's commonplace.
Yeah, and I would love to see that because, like, even still nowadays, like, you look at Forspoken, which is coming out a few months, right? Has a Black female protagonist, and it's like you look at the comments on that, that the first time that was shown off, and like, yes, there was a large amount of people who are like, "This looks beautiful, this looks so cool," but then you have so many people who are like, "I'm not playing this because there's a woman. I'm not playing it because there's a Black central character." Like, as much as, and it's like you mentioned, right? I think the word that you used was defend, which is such an interesting word to use there because that pretty much what it has to be, right? You have to come to the defense of a fictional character being like they have every right to exist in the way that they do,
Absolutely.
rather than it just being cool.
Absolutely.
Like that's an awesome character.
Same with and I can't remember the name of the character, but the little Black girl that's going to be in the new God of War series. Like, people
Yeah.
were upset about that, and I was like, look, this is their take on Norse mythology. The
Hmm.
important word here is mythology, guys.
Yeah.
So, like, they can do anything they want. And why are you, as a person, so offended? And I think that's what we really need to like focus on. What is it about you that can't accept different races? And like,
Hmm.
why are you upset over? I guess it's just always blown my mind that people can be upset, angry, repulsed over something that somebody else can't control. The way that you come out of the womb is just the way that you come out.
Yeah.
I have no control over my skin tone, just like anybody else. And
Yeah.
I've never looked at someone and been like, ugh, because
Hmm.
it's ridiculous when I think about it. It's just so ridiculous. So yeah, no, you're right. It is. We do have to come to defense, and it's exhausting. And I'm tired of having to defend our right to be represented properly.
And even it's like you mentioned, right? You don't get to choose who you are, right? Like there's no character customization screen as you're about to give, like as you're about to be born, that you're just quickly sitting there being like,
Right.
din, 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 din. And like to speak on that as well. I mean, like just even as as we've done this podcast together, just learning about how much even character customization, as advanced as it can be, how much it still gets wrong in a lot of cases.
Yeah,
Like Animal Crossing is not maybe the perfect example, but like look how long it took for different styles of hair to be put in the game, and how often is that still
absolutely.
not done properly, right? So like even in just those respects, even if you're making your own character, for me, like I said, I am a cis white male, and it's like I can make myself in pretty much any game ever if I really wanted to, right? There's no like, well, my hair isn't exactly like this, but whatever, right? Just to be able to say like, okay, I guess I have to pick this hair option because there isn't one that properly represents me. Like
Right.
I hope we get even just in that space more availability of different options and more accessibility to let people make themselves or who they want to be.
Absolutely. There are too many Black people in media for there to be an excuse not to have them represented properly. There's no way you can say, well, I'm not really sure what they look like. Like, I get way back in the day, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like,
Sure,
unless
yeah.
you really put your research in, all Black people were given afros. Like, in
Mhm.
every game, there's an afro. But
Yeah.
it's like, that's not just, we're so dynamic. We're just as dynamic as any other race,
Mhm.
any other culture. So, like, and it doesn't, I mean, you can literally just go to Google and type in Black hairstyles and lots will show up. There's no excuse. There's absolutely no excuse.
Especially when things like, diversity consultants and accessibility consultants, like those are very much a thing. Like there's a lot of
Yes.
controversy going around. Let's use Sifu as an example, a game that I've really been enjoying, but it's made by a predominantly white team about an Asian character with Asian heritage. And it's like there was a lot of discourse around it because they're like, we brought in a couple consultants, but at the same time, it's like it's this push and pull between like how are you actually portraying this properly and how much are you actually doing the work and the research. Like you said, there we live in an age now where Google is right there, but that shouldn't be step one. You know what I mean? The step one should be Googling proper consultants, proper people who work and are present in the space and who can give
Step
you
one should
valuable.
be hiring more
There you go.
people of
Hmm.
color in general. Like, that should be step one. I'm kind of tired, and I don't want people to take this the wrong way, but I'm kind of tired of like white people telling our stories
Hmm.
or not allowing us to work with them when telling our stories. Do you
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
it's exhausting. Like, I just watched like Dances with Wolves, and I was just like, that probably would have been such an amazing contribution. And how many Native Americans, other than the ones who were portrayed in the movie, actually got to be a part of this and creating this and all of that stuff. And we don't want to see ourselves through a white lens,
Hmm.
because there's so much more to us, right? And I just feel like a lot of that is stereotypes, which is why I have a problem with Grand Theft Auto
Hmm.
and games like that, because it's like there's so much more to us, and you only want to show the things that you're too lazy to really research. You watch like Boys in the Hood and Juice, and you think that like
Yeah.
that's it, and it's more like black exploitation. And I feel the
Hmm.
same way about like a lot of um companies that come in and do things like that. And Disney's one of the worst, because I feel like Disney is majority white, but I love the fact that they're trying to like tell different stories, but like
Hmm.
it's taken them so long to
Hmm.
get to that point, and it doesn't make any sense. But baby steps, and I'm glad that they're doing it. Let's continue to do it, but let's
Hmm.
put some people of color on your board. Let's put some people of color in charge. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And I think it's the same for the gaming industry, just media overall. Like, we're so much more than the small credits that you guys decide to give us.
On top
So,
of the fact that, like, I mean, you look at there was like a controversy a few months ago, where there was like a new development studio that was formed in New York, and it was like 30 white guys, and then there everybody was kind of like, "You're starting a new studio, and you just have
absolutely.
copy pasted one person over and over again." And their response was, "Well, we have one white woman, but she couldn't be in the picture, she wasn't there." And it's kind of like, how much research and how much work are you doing to find proper talent when you live in New York City, one of the most diverse places on the planet, and
Exactly.
B, that's all you can find.
That's all
Like,
you could find were a bunch of other white guys. There's
mhm,
no way. There's no way.
exactly.
But it's because they don't want to. And
Mhm.
they don't think it's important. So I think like one of the reasons why I'm so happy that we use our platform to talk about these things is because we need other white people to see that like there are white people out there who do want to contribute, who do want to see us in different light, who aren't just there to accept whatever's thrown at them about our
Mhm.
cultures. And I think that's really important.
Well said. So for our last section, D, I wanted to ask you about a black historical figure, that, or not even necessarily a historical figure, but someone important that has inspired you or has really been there for you in a very significant way, and that kind of makes you want to be a better person or excel in some certain way. Tell me about someone.
So this isn't somebody who necessarily inspired me until like I read more about him. And I think because of him, um well, yeah, because of him, a lot of people are able to learn more about Black history. And the fact that like we keep regurgitating the same people, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman, those are indeed incredible Black figures
Hmm.
in our history. But the person who kind of stood up and said, hey, we need a time to celebrate Black history, and we need to make this nationwide because our schools are not teaching our Black youth about everyone who's contributed to our society, right?
Hmm.
It's the ones that like the governments and white people have decided are safe to teach to our Black youth and the white youth of America. And he's a doctor. He's also a historian, and his name is Carter G. Woodson. And he is the person we have to thank for Black History Month. It actually started out as just a week long celebration.
Hmm.
And over the course of a few years, it actually turned into where I think it was President Ford during the bicentennial was actually like, we need to help, not just help Black people, but recognize the celebration and the contribution that Black people have given to our society and continue to give to our society. There are so many things that Black people have created and made that you don't know about because it's not talked about,
Hmm.
you know. And it makes me sad that as like a Black female that I'm just now learning some of these things, that like the modern day toilet, which is used all over the world,
Hmm.
do you understand, was helped, formed and created by a Black man. The maxi pad, which is used all over the world with the wings and the I want to say moldable, but that's not the right word, was created by a Black woman. One of, what is her name? Is it Henrietta? Oh my God, I can't think of it. But one, it's called the Living Cells, and I can't think of it right now. But it's due to her cells that we've been able to go so far in like medical science.
Hmm.
And guys, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on her name. I will give it to Matt and you can check on it at the bottom. But like, she's the only person in existence that we know whose cells can have continued to live like outside of her body. Um, and they've been able to do experiments and things like that. And go ahead, Matt.
Henriette Lacks. She was
Thank you.
born Loretta Pleasant and then
Thank
later became
you.
Henrietta Lacks. But sorry, go on.
So yeah, just so many contributions we've done. But I just want to thank, he's no longer alive, obviously,
Hmm.
but I just want to thank Dr. Woodson. Like if he was here today, I would just be like, thank you so much, because the fact that you've created this, because you brought attention to this, we are able to learn so much. We are able to do things like this where we link up with level 1, where we're able to link up with Yuki and raise the game and use our platform to teach other people about Black excellence and continue to like just broaden people's perspectives on who we are. We're not just thugs, you know, we're
Hmm.
not just single mothers, we're not ignorant, we're very creative, we're very strong, we're beautiful people. And that goes without saying, not just us, but you know, all people of color have contributed to who we are today, and will contribute to our success in the future.
I can't wait to keep having these conversations with you, D, as the years go on, because we're going to have more and more exciting things. And I just, there's going to be more and more people who stand up and who fight and who make more of a difference in the world. And we are going to keep having these conversations because it is important and because representation matters. But that, everyone, brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you check out the other episodes in this series and our past series from October, where we spoke to a bunch of amazing Black creators from the UK. Go check out Mental Health Power Up, which is all about mental health, where we sit down with doctors and clinicians about a bunch of incredible things and talk about mental health and how we deal with different things day in and day out. But make sure you check for all the links below. Thank you so much for watching. For Team Burnout, for Team Level 1, we'll see you on the next one. Peace out.
Bye, guys.